I think we're live. Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome for everyone that's already here. Wow. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I was like, oh, there's already people on. Let's just hop on early.
We were just hanging out with the kids, so we have
Mm,
time to jump on now.
Yeah. We were deciding this week, we're like, should we do a video about Halloween? We have really old videos about Halloween before, and there's not a whole lot to say. And so we're like, well, instead of doing a Halloween video, let's just do a live and let people ask their questions about
Exactly.
Halloween or holidays or anything else. Because we
Or
like to.
any other random question you might have.
Hi, Kyle. Hi, Wendy. Oh, thank you so much. Hi,
Oh,
Ellen.
thank you guys. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Well, see, we've never done a live on a Monday afternoon, but we were like looking at analytics and we're like, oh, a lot of people have a chance to watch our videos on Monday afternoon. So we'll just try it.
Happens.
Tanya, thank you so
Tanya,
much, Latter day
hey.
Film Guy and Tanya, for being members.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Karen.
Karen, welcome from the UK. Wow, what part of the UK? Candace, thanks for
Candace
being
from
here.
Laverkin.
Okay, we're familiar
I
with that area.
I grew up. I had quite a few years of my youth in Laverkin,
Yeah.
so I lived there for a few years. I loved it there. Like I would consider that my childhood home. That I lived the most of my childhood in one place was in Laverkin. I have great memories of Laverkin. So
Yeah, but as you know, Candace, Laverkin is not very far from where I grew up.
yes,
So I'm
I,
very familiar with it as well. Julie, hey there from Nova Scotia. Wow,
and
welcome.
Karen
Thanks
lives
for
in
being here.
London. To answer your
Oh, in
question,
London. Okay,
oh,
awesome.
awesome! I want to get Sam to London soon.
Yeah,
Hi,
we just
Dee.
we just saw who did we just see?
Bye, Mom.
Bye, Mom. We got a
Grandma
lot
was
of people in.
visiting.
We got a lot of people in the house right now. We
um,
just saw Ed Sheeran in concert. When you say London, I just thought of Ed Sheeran.
Yes, we just saw him. He was just in Vegas
It was
Saturday night.
amazing.
Oof, amazing. Oh, from your big fans in California. Oh, thank you so much.
Wow,
No
thank you all.
costumes. I know, right? I have pumpkin earrings. We really
This
should
is
have done costumes.
my
But
glasses are my costume.
Clark Kent. He is
Yeah.
Clark Kent. And we should have
I've
had
been
you like have
accused of
something to
that.
be able to like be Superman underneath or
Yeah.
something.
Oh man. Think
Um,
next time, right?
Next
We should
time.
have. I'm sorry, everyone.
The real question is, what costumes should we wear tomorrow with our kids? Because our kids are now at the age where they want to be different things. Like we did themed costumes when they were really little.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a certain age where like he wants to be Spider-Man or superhero and Lila wants to be a princess. And so it's like, okay, well, if they want different things, it's harder to make a theme up, I feel
Right.
like. And
Someone
so
suggests Barbie and Ken.
right.
That's
Or
something I
Taylor
haven't.
Swift and Travis Kelsey.
There we go. Now you
Just
start. Now
saying.
you started something. Oh
Been
boy.
following us. Oh, from Belgium. Oh, thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you.
Come to the haunted house in Tooele. Oh, I've heard about the haunted houses in Tooele. I lived in northern Utah for a couple of years and I heard about your haunted houses. I am a scaredy cat. I don't do haunted
She doesn't
houses.
like scary things, which is funny, but
No, I'm like, let's do cute pumpkins and like cute stuff. I
it's
get
funny
scared so
because
easily.
our daughter came out very, very excited about everything scary.
Yeah,
So it's
Halloween,
funny.
she loves it. And I'm like, I don't know where she came from. Not from me.
and
But she did.
yeah, and honestly, I don't love the horror movies and that kind of thing either. But so I'm not sure where she got the idea of liking scary things.
Yeah, I don't know. From Wyoming. Hello,
Wow, thank you,
hello.
everyone. Thanks for saying where you're from. This is fun to see from all over the place. Thanks for being
Oh,
here.
thank you so much, Minda. That's so nice. That always makes us so happy when we feel like we can bring awareness or compassion and have people feel sympathetic and empathetic. It makes us very happy. So thank you for saying that. We really
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you all so much for your support and compliments.
Yeah, Las Vegas. It's
Oh,
finally cooling
hey.
off. Yeah, this weekend it went from like in the 80s to yesterday. The kids were playing outside and they're like, "Mommy, it's cold."
Yeah, the wind came through and it got chilly.
Saskatchewan. Oh, people have snow already. That is crazy to me.
From New York, but upstate New York. Wow, welcome. Do you have snow up there yet?
Polka dot.
Someone just posted that there's snowstorms going around in the US somewhere.
Yeah. Took my kid to a kid-friendly haunted house. Son loved it. My daughter had nightmares. I think that'd be yeah, our oldest, our daughter, she would probably love it, but I think our little
Yeah.
boy would get nightmares too. So our
Well, we say our daughter loves scary things, but it's more like Disneyland
I
status.
don't know, when she was really little, like our neighborhood goes crazy for
That's
Halloween. There
true.
are just as many decorations for Halloween as there is for Christmas. And it's really, really fun, but, like, our little girl, when she was, like, 3, she would see, like, the Eddie Kruger with, like, the big knife, and she'd go up and be looking at it and, like, try to touch the toy knife, and I'm like, "How are you not scared?" So,
Yeah.
yeah, she likes but she's starting to, like, be more scared as she's like, getting older, and so I'm like, "Oh, good.
Maybe it was a phase.
Maybe it was a phase because I don't do scary, and I was worried we were gonna have to get into more scary stuff."
Got
Or
people from Kansas, New York City.
Halloween will be 35 degrees.
Wow, 35
Wow.
degrees. I wonder
Or
where that is.
Sweden,
Sweden, wow, hey, Sweden is on my bucket list. I cannot wait to get there.
snow in Denver.
Okay, maybe it was Denver that someone posted
Our
about.
haunted house, you can get tied up or locked in a closet. Oh my gosh, that would be like my worst nightmare. Yeah. Oh, see, even just thinking about it, you just telling me about that haunted house is like scary enough. I get
Yeah,
all the feels. I am good. Buffalo, New York, from Idaho. Hello, everyone. It's so fun to see like our YouTube family. We just love you guys. And it's so fun that so many people from all over, like,
all over the
I wish we could
world.
just get everybody in one room because it'd be so fun to see
Yep.
everybody from all their different places.
That would be hard to do, but it would be really, really fun.
Yeah, 50 degrees here in Texas. I'm freezing. That was us yesterday. It was like 52 or something in the morning, and we
Mhm.
were dying.
It's the wind, though.
Were people ever able to wear costumes or dress up in the FLDS?
So, no, the funny thing about well, I
Well,
guess
sorry, follow-up question too. Like in a church play.
oh,
Like, were you able
okay.
to at all or just not at
So,
Halloween?
we did do some plays. They weren't well, yeah, some church plays as well, but we never were allowed to even hint at the idea of Halloween. Halloween was never allowed. In our home, it was taught that it was an evil holiday that we weren't allowed to even talk about, let alone participate in. So, unfortunately, there was never any candy buckets filled up for me as a child.
Yeah. Even
But go
I
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, your, like, little school play, like, we have one picture of them doing, like, a little school play.
Mhm.
So it wasn't the dressing up itself, it was the
We were
Halloween, right?
exactly. We were allowed to dress up for certain characters in our homeschool, and we did do some plays for that, but it was never Halloween type. It was more ancient history, dress up like the way the pilgrims were, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I know
Um
pilgrims isn't that ancient, but
Yeah, old stuff, older stuff. You mentioned the FLDS doesn't believe December 25th is actually Jesus's birthday. What do
Mhm.
they believe like, when do they believe it is?
They believe it's in April, which I feel is fairly common, or at
I've
least
heard
we
that a
hear a
lot.
lot of people say that. And some people will narrow it down to a specific day, and sometimes people will even claim that it's Easter Day. And so there's a lot of different theories out there, but they also told us it was in. We didn't celebrate Easter, but they told us it was on Easter
Yeah.
is when he was born.
Did you carve pumpkins or trick or treat in the
Nope,
FLDS?
nothing like that. However, in the mainstream
I was gonna
LDS,
say I did.
she did a lot of
In
that.
the
Yeah.
mainstream LDS, like, you would have church trunk or treats, and everybody within, like, the ward or congregation would get together and do trick or treating.
So
So
define trunk or treat. Why was it? Why trunk or treat?
because you'd go to the church parking lot, and everyone would lift open their trunks of their cars, and they would decorate their trunks and hand out candy. So that's why it was called a trunk or treat.
Yeah. So
So in the mainstream LDS, totally cool. I think I've only heard of like a couple people be like, "Oh, we're not into Halloween," but it wasn't nothing to do with like the LDS church or the religion in general at all.
it's
They're totally
more
allowed to.
different families have their own opinions about things. And I feel
Mhm.
like in every culture, every religion, there's always the family rules on top of the religious rules,
Yeah,
right? So,
exactly.
but I experienced a trunk or treat, like you said, for the first time when I was an adult. So that was something I was introduced to later. And then even later, I went to my first like Halloween party, and that was a very big culture shock for me coming from the way I was raised to going to something like that. That was whoa.
And then now Sam gets to experience everything the first time with our kids,
Yes.
like
Oh,
carving pumpkins and a lot of the traditions. Like my family has a lot of traditions around every holiday. We just like celebrating pretty much anything. And so
wow.
then Sam has a chance to be able to like have a lot of traditions in his life
It's
because
so
we bring them
fun.
in.
I
So
love it.
it's super, super fun.
Snow in Nebraska. Wow.
Yep. Harvest celebration and bobbing for apples. You guys had a harvest celebration for a long time though, right?
Okay, yes. Okay, that is something that we would celebrate in October. You're right. That was more mid-October. and we would celebrate a harvest festival. Yes, you're right. And we would do the bobbing for apples and that kind of thing.
Were you allowed to bob for apples?
Yes.
My mom was always like, everybody's mouth's in one place. She wouldn't let us bob for apples.
Well,
My whole life, I was never allowed. I need to do it this year.
You have to realize that we were the kind of religion that would also share the same cup of water for sacrament. If anyone knows what that means, we would all drink out of the same cup of water. So bobbing for apples was nothing. No big deal. No big deal. But yes, that was something I did. And that was when I was really little. We actually did have a lot more fun in the FLDS.
Someone says that it's widely believed Christmas in December because it's an appropriation of a pagan holiday. Most scholars believe that he was born in the spring. Yeah, that's what we grew up.
It's pretty common, it sounds
in
like.
the LDS church too, they were just like, it doesn't really matter when we celebrate. It's about celebrating and taking the time to think about your Savior more than if it matters that it's on the actual date. So to us, it didn't really matter. It was just about that. Actually, a religious holiday at Jordan Island.
I saw there was someone on here from Kenya. Wow, welcome.
Is the brick backdrop digital one or something actually in your location? Good question.
It's real brick I laid on the wall. No. It's just a backdrop.
Here, you want to see? You want to see behind the curtain?
Uh-oh.
It's just our wall.
There's the wall.
There's the wall. We're up in we just moved into our like loft. But yeah, it's just better than our wall. We really want to like get like decorations and have it look more, I don't know, like all the cool YouTubers.
Yeah,
like,
we're not as cool as they
are
yet.
Cool. So if you want to become a member so that we can
afford that kind of stuff,
that would be fantastic. But
we've talked about it for sure to do some upgrades, but yeah.
But it's just a cloth. We'll change it for Christmas. We have like a Christmas one and we just change them. It's nice because we can change it. It's nothing permanent. And so it's fun to switch it out sometimes. Like we had the darker one and the lighter one. But yeah. Have you gone to any adult Halloween parties? Have seen any slutty costumes? Going to college
you
Halloween
saw some
parties.
Of that?
I was surprised. So I lived in northern Utah. I was only working, but I was near BYU, Brigham Young University. So it's an LDS private college. And I lived in BYU housing, which is like strict dress codes. And I remember going to like a BYU Halloween party and it was like slutty costumes everywhere. And I was like,
in northern Utah.
And my mind was blown because I was like, oh, these people are not dressing modestly the way that we were taught to. I was losing my mind.
It's one day of year they can express themselves, huh?
I guess so. I was dying laughing at how it was. And not that everyone was like that, but it was like more of a typical college party, just without the booze. And yeah, it just always stuck with me. I'm like, oh, okay.
So the only Halloween costume adult, I guess you could say, parties that I went to were in St. George, Utah. And it was only a couple. And
we've been to some, like we've been to like murder mystery ones that are like actual.
Okay, yeah, you're right. After we got married, you're right. I was thinking when I was a teenager or in college, yes. So, but nothing too crazy. You hear of some of the stories, and you would think us living here in Vegas that maybe we had been to some of those crazier ones, but no, nothing too crazy.
No, and I feel like when you're in the outskirts of Vegas too, everything's really family friendly. So
right, very different.
Someone said they grew up having a Christian version of Halloween called a Hallelujah Party.
Oh.
Now my kids do both. I want to hear more about a Hallelujah Party.
Never heard of it.
I've never heard of it.
Do you say Happy Hallelujah? Or how does that work exactly?
Yeah, and is there candy involved? Because I feel like my kids would be
That's
like,
all that really matters, right?
Is there candy? And if so, then we could probably work around that. But
however, our son is very obsessed with spiders. So are there spiders involved? He loves
we would
spiders.
Need spiders and candy, and then we might.
He wants a pet spider. He loves everything about spiders.
Oh, we're so glad you made it to Alive too, Bailey. Thanks.
Oh, yes. Thanks for being here.
Belgium, November 1st is a holiday, as it is All Saints. We usually bring flowers to our loved one's grave.
Oh, I love that.
Dios de los Muertos.
Yeah. Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah. It's soon, right? When I was young, there was bobbing for apples. He went down, came up, and there was snot running down his face. Now terrified to bob for apples. See, and that's the type of stuff my mom would always be like, "Oh, that's gross. Don't do it."
Yeah, you can't watch the people before you. You have to just go for it.
Made my mom get a separate bowl for bobbing for apples. Yeah, seriously, so funny.
I haven't done it for a long time. When I was a kid, it didn't bother me. I probably had snot running down my nose too, but now I would probably be a little more cautious about that.
Yeah. Hanging portraits of people we've interviewed on the backdrop. Ooh, I like that. That's pretty cool. We should do that for
It's a good idea.
like our banner on our YouTube banner.
There we
I've seen some
go.
people do that. I'm like, that's cool. So you can see all the people that have been interviewed. Something to kind of
Yeah.
give homage to that, right?
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good idea.
Thanks for being here, JJ from the UK,
Oh,
Michelle, Tammy,
wow. Thank you all
middle
so much.
middle of Amish country.
Wow.
That's awesome. Since in Vegas, do you ever go to the casinos? So yeah, most of the time when we go to casinos here in Vegas, it is to go to a show of some sort or to go to
Mhm.
a restaurant because there's a lot of really good, nice restaurants in a
A
lot of the
lot of
casinos.
Yes, a lot of the casinos are also including other things within them. It's not only the casino. It's a really big building with the casino and different showrooms and all sorts of things.
But I would
So,
also be lying if I didn't say that I like to play blackjack on the way in and on the way back out from the
yes.
restaurant.
Yep.
So
We strategically make the walk through the casino where we want to go and happen upon a blackjack table once in a while. But it's nothing we do too much of, but we
no,
do enjoy a little
we
bit.
honestly, I kind of always joke that we really try to not gamble at home as much. Like if we're going on a trip somewhere, if we're on a cruise ship, then we'll actually
Mm.
go and sit down and play blackjack or play craps or gamble. But here it's like I don't want to say it's like dangerous, but you don't want to get in the habit of it when it's so
It's
close.
too close.
It's
Too
too close. So
close.
we try
Yeah.
not to here at home.
Because in the end, the casinos always come out ahead. You may win
Yeah.
sometimes, but
My fundamental church did Fall Fest when we got a new pastor. It was really
oh,
boring, like one day with candy and you weren't allowed to wear costumes. Oh,
sounds probably similar
Fall
to what
Fest.
I what I well, I don't know. I guess it depends on what is considered boring, but the way I was raised, there were activities and things which I guess if it was someone that had been used to a normal Halloween with candy and everything, maybe what I was raised with would be boring as well, but only knowing that growing up, I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, All Hallows Eve is the evening before All Saints Day. I didn't realize that there was a Saints Day on the other side of it because
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like I never
interesting.
hear about that. So that's really cool. I want to look more into that. That's very cool.
Huh.
Um, oh, thank you so much, Jessica.
Oh, yes, thank
Stephanie.
you.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Michelle, thanks for being here.
Do you guys know approximately how many children or young girls are being kept in North Dakota? I wonder about them every day.
Oh man.
We
Well,
don't,
we do too, and thank you for your concern. It's
yeah.
hard to know the exact number because they're constantly moving more in and out, and it's a constant. Uh, it's almost a trafficking situation, and so it's very difficult to keep track of everything going on. But
Um, we
have we?
did
Go ahead.
we did get told by a very close source that they believe there's like 5,000 members left and about 2,500 like firm followers,
Very
and that
strong.
in
Yeah.
North Dakota it is mostly young girls. That there are a few men priesthood holders up there, but that it is mostly young girls. So we don't have an exact number, but unfortunately, we know that it is happening, and they're mostly girls. Even just Warren Jeff's wives and his own daughters ends up adding up pretty quickly because he had 78 wives and we were told about 10 to 15 have left. So I mean, that's like 60 women right there that are waiting for Warren Jeffs to be released and then all of their kids that they had beforehand. So they said
Yep.
about half the kids have left, but that's just a lot of children and it's a lot of even just his own wives, let alone the girls who are being taken there as
I
well.
I would
So
I would assume it's hundreds at
hundreds.
this point.
Definitely hundreds, hopefully not up to 1,000, but
And
definitely
the
hundreds.
tricky thing too is it's not all just North Dakota. They keep different locations to make it seem less obvious. But
Yeah.
yes, there's a lot up there in North Dakota though.
Yeah, someone said, "Is gambling allowed by the LDS church?" So gambling is definitely discouraged, but it's more about the possibility of addiction, I would say. It's not
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you're gonna get in trouble with the church by any means if you go and play blackjack." It's not like that. Like, it's not a temple recommend question. It's nothing like that. But it is a be cautious of anything that can become addictive, or if it is like an addiction and you are addicted to gambling and you're causing problems for your family, then that could
Then it's a
be
problem.
something, yeah,
But once again, that's something that's
way more
based
personal
on the
based on the
family. Each
family.
family has different opinions about gambling. I know of some LDS people that gamble and others that say they would never do such a
Never do
thing.
such a
And
thing. Yeah.
so
But the
once
church
again,
hasn't come out like I said, it's frowned upon and it's
mm,
discouraged.
yep.
You don't really hear most LDS people, even if they do gamble, like when we were LDS, like if I did, I wouldn't, it's not something you talk about. I don't know, not
Keep it
necessarily
to
like keep a
yourself.
secret, but
Yeah.
just like Yeah, it's not something to talk about at church. We'll just say that.
No one's going to praise you for it, for sure.
Yeah. Let's see.
Sorry, we're trying to keep up on comments here too.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for the questions.
How old were you, Sam, when you first tried sushi, and what did you think? That's a great
Oh,
question.
that's a great question. That's a question I've never been asked. Wow. First time I tried sushi, I must have been 18, 19 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't remember loving it the first time I tried it.
But we just
And
had sushi on Saturday, and we love it
we
now.
love sushi now, but I think it also depends on what sushi you try for the first time, right? If you're going straight for the raw fish and you just go for it without all of the other goodies that make sushi what it is, for my first time, I didn't really enjoy it that much. But now I like almost all types of sushi.
Yeah.
So,
Hi, Colleen from Scotland.
wow, from
Oh,
Scotland.
you're on the top of our visit list, Scotland.
Another
Sam
place.
is 30% Scottish.
I'm very Scottish.
And I am like 17%. So we have like a place. We always go to the Highland Games when it comes here. So Colleen,
our daughter loves the bagpipes.
Yes,
She
we
wants
might
to
be
listen.
messaging you when we come to Scotland. Oh, Bailey, who else wants Melissa to do a day in the life of video? That's
Aw.
super sweet.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's super funny. I wouldn't have thought of that, but hey,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to see, I'm more than happy to show you that PTO life with
Yeah,
kids
exactly.
in school.
It's very busy with school these days.
Oh man, how's Sam's sister that was on before?
Teffy,
Yeah,
most
she's
likely.
doing great.
Teffy's doing well. She's very busy. She works a lot. She's living in Utah still.
Yeah, we're gonna go see
And
her over Thanksgiving.
we'll
So
see
that'd
her
be
soon.
great.
Yeah. So it's hard to get people together with such a big family and people living all over the place, but we try to make it happen as often as possible.
Halloween costume idea for Sam: a Warren Jeffs mask.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I could do that.
Oh, I think it would creep everyone out way
I
too much.
don't
That's like
know.
the scariest mask. I don't think you could do it.
If I practiced, I could probably get his voice down and scare everyone around me. But I don't know if that would be one I'd be willing to do.
Yeah. How are there still more children when I thought Warren just had banned having more kids? So he has, but that was like 9 years ago. So there were still babies at that time that are still like 9 years old.
Yes.
So there's no like really young kids, but there are still plenty of young girls from, like age 8 or 9 and up, basically.
Yep. And there are rumors that some people are going to very soon, if they haven't already,
Be getting married
start having children again. So, but yes, there are young kids still, growing
Like
up in the
9, 10.
FLDS that were born before he put an end to it.
Yeah.
So, still a lot. It's just so sad.
Hallelujah party, a Christian carnival in the church. Lots of candy, small toys given out after kids play a game like ring toss or bobbing for apples. Only got the costumes, Bible theme, or animals. Oh, that's cute.
So many fun traditions. It's so fun to see.
How do got you live even at the end? So excited. Oh, thank you so much. Praying for the hidden FLDS girls. Thank you. We appreciate that. Does mainstream LDS believe you can be a god if you reach the highest level in heaven, or is that FLDS? It is both.
It is both. Yep.
They both believe that.
That came
it's a fundamental belief.
Yep, that came from the original prophets of the LDS church.
Yep. So both the same prophets for the LDS and FLDS of being able to become like God in the highest degree of glory.
Funny, we were just recently talking about that belief.
Yeah. Thanks so much for grew up never learning about anything. I've always felt drawn to learn about different beliefs. Oh, well, we're happy we can help.
Yes.
We are too. I mean, even growing up with such strong beliefs, I still have always been so intrigued with different beliefs that I just find it so fun. Like every chance we have, like when we get to learn about the Mennonites or the Amish or this or that and do videos on it, like I just love getting to see it. Even stuff as, I don't want to say silly, but like even stuff as silly as like the Sister Wives, right? Where it's reality TV and it's not real, 100% real, but just getting to compare and contrast, like that's somebody's entire reality is living polygamy in that way. I just find super intriguing.
Yeah. And even though it is reality TV, there are a lot of things that they do that are similar to what I saw growing up, and even some similarities to the way Melissa grew up. So, it's interesting, and there's a lot of, I guess, mixed feelings about that show, but it's been interesting to see how similar and how different they are from other polygamous groups.
Yep. Um, let's see. How did it feel growing up with your father being the mayor? Now that you've left, how do you view those parts of your life?
Well, that's a great question. I always admired his job, I guess you could say, as mayor of the city. It was something that definitely made, I don't know, almost put our family on this pedestal of, oh, you're the mayor's kids, right? And he also had really high callings in the church. So yeah, I would say it made my life better and easier by having my father in that kind of position for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Were apparitions of the three Nephites ever discussed in the FLDS or LDS? Let me start on this one. So, yes, it was talked about that the three Nephites still lived on the earth.
Yep.
And I knew about it. We talked about it in seminary, but it was very much just like they're around. You'll never really know who they are. So, don't really spend that much time thinking about it, but that it happened. And that was it. And for those of you who are super confused, in Mormon theology, it's that three Nephites basically became immortal, but they still are walking the earth today.
And the Nephites is a name that comes from the Book of Mormon.
Yep, a
It's
group of people here in the Americas. But in the FLDS,
yeah.
they talked about it a lot more.
Well, they did, and I was being the jokester that I am, and the FLDS being such a secretive place. When I first moved out, I started to pick up on the fact that people didn't really know what it was like in there. I didn't realize how secretive we were. And so I actually convinced some people for a very short time. It was all a joke. But I actually convinced some people that there was a Nephite colony still, colony and city underneath the FLDS grounds, and that's why we were living there, is because there were Nephites that lived underneath us in this underground city, and I had to convince them of this, and it's just anyway. So yes, the Nephites were talked about a lot. They were talked about how there were the living Nephites still roaming the earth, that there were other spirits that lived in certain good and bad spirits that lived in certain places, and that we weren't allowed to hike certain mountains because those evil spirits dwelled there. And if we did, we would disappear. And so there was a lot of talk about the ancient people living or spirits all the time. Funny
Yeah.
that they wouldn't let us celebrate Halloween, right?
Yeah, you guys talked about evil spirits way more than we did.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
even like possession and stuff like that. It was mentioned a little bit, but it really wasn't a huge focus on any
Yeah.
type of evil
Very
spirits.
common in the FLDS.
Yep. Have we ever tried to do an interview with Rachel Jeffs? Curious if her sister finally left.
We have not, but
We
we have had a couple people ask us if we would. So
we know that she kind of stopped doing interviews for a while and just kind of needed a break after when she first had so many interviews.
mhm.
But we would definitely be open to it
Yeah,
if the opportunity arose.
yeah.
Hi, Christina.
Oh, hey there.
Let's see. Who's been your favorite to interview or whose story shocked you the most? Oof.
That's a great question. They all have such unique stories. I would say probably the Black family
Was the most
was the most
shocking.
shocking. Some things that I had no idea were going on right under my nose, and it got a lot worse after I moved out, of course. But though that was probably the most shocking to hear that some of that type of abuse was going on. And I know that there are other people that had similar things happen, but for me, it just wasn't the way I was raised. Thankfully, thank goodness, I was not raised that way. But it was shocking and heartbreaking to hear that a family was treated in such a way.
Yeah, definitely the most shocking. It's hard to pick a favorite because everybody has such different like stories.
Mm,
It is fun when we get to see people in person. So like getting to do the interview with Amanda Ray and her actually like getting to come to our house and like going to lunch after and just like getting to know her as a person and where she was, a lot of stuff off screen. That was really fun. So anytime
yeah.
we have a chance to like connect more than just getting on the computer and doing an interview, and we try to connect as much as possible obviously before we start, but it is fun when we get to do them in person, which is really rare, but I
I
do
will
like that.
say it's unfortunate. We do these videos, the interviews, and then after the end ends, we keep talking for a while, and we talk for sometimes hours, and we think, oh my gosh, think of all this information that we could have had on the video, but just things you don't think about until the video ends, and then you keep talking and things come up. But it's it's unfortunate, but we can't capture everything. It just comes up naturally sometimes.
Yeah. Brielle, yes, so resilient. It was fun to get to see Brielle
Oh,
in real life
yes.
in person. She's so sweet, and that was super fun. Again, anytime we get to see people like in real time in person is always so fun, so fun.
Yes, that was amazing to visit with her and see the place that she's turned into this amazing dream center, and was the home where so much of the secrecy was happening when I was
Yeah.
growing up out there. It's just crazy.
Any new interviews coming up?
Ye- At the same time, we do hope to have more interviews coming up. At this time,
There's
we're
nothing so set in stone that we can confirm nor deny is
right.
happening, but we would love to do more
We will
interviews,
definitely be doing interviews. At this time, there's been other things like the
revelations.
revelations and some of the reactions that we've done, and we aren't those, we don't not like to I guess nag people a lot to try to convince them to do it. We like to do it on their terms and when they feel ready. So, it's one of those things as well that we really like people to be in a space where they feel like they are ready. And a lot of times we wait for people to reach out to us for that reason.
Yeah, we've had people that are like, "I'm not ready yet to share my story." Like, they're okay sharing it with us. We have people, call us and
Hmm.
share their story. But they're like, "I'm not ready yet to share it with the world, but when I am ready, I'll come to you." And so we have a lot of those type of things that are, keeping touch with people. And then when they're ready, then we'll do interviews. But
Yeah.
really important for their mental health to like wait till they're ready. Yeah.
But yes, we do see some interviews in the future for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we surprised what is happening to the sister wives coming out with truth and stuff? Sister wives has been
That's a
quite the
roller
journey
coaster.
for us.
Yeah.
It's been fun. I'd say the first couple seasons like felt way more in our realm of reaction because there's so much more comparison. We can easily compare like their beginnings to ours. Doing the most recent season, it's like such a crazy like, at this point where they're at in their crazy drama is a little bit harder to, like, relate to
Mm,
or tie it into our theme, but I feel like going back and reacting to the beginning ones, I'm like, "Oh, this is totally on brand for us," because we can compare their polygamy to Sam's polygamy to how I grew up LDS and where a bunch of them have the
right.
LDS backgrounds.
And it
We
just
can
seemed
connect a lot more with them.
Yeah, and in the beginning, it seemed so much more like a traditional polygamous family that I would have seen growing up, or that so many other polygamous groups tend to have. And now it's turned into this completely, yeah, just a kind of a disaster at this point.
Yeah,
And so,
but every once in a while, drama
but
can
there's
be
still unique things and interesting things that come up even in the most recent season that they talk about spirituality and different things, that the reason they go about doing things the way they do, that we find interesting. and
we try to
and
pull that out. Like we've seen
yeah,
other people on YouTube and that are awesome at like dissecting all the information, just, oh, this happened and like dissecting information. So we do try to draw out of Sister Wives more the religious aspect and why they're doing what they're doing rather than
right.
giving recap. At least that's our goal and our hope when we're doing it.
Hmm.
But it's very interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
overall
it's a
still.
very interesting show, and it's almost sad that we know how it ends,
Yeah.
because the first seasons are so interesting and unique, and I can see why people kind of got hooked on the show.
Yeah.
But for me, on the other hand, because I was raised in a polygamous family, I I find it interesting, but not as interesting as others might, right? Just
Yeah.
because it was so normal for me at one time.
Yeah. Question: do Warren's faithful wives know why he's in prison? Have they heard the tapes or are they in the dark? This is interesting because the person that was close to Warren that we had mentioned in our video last week mentioned the fact that a lot of them do know.
Yep.
And a lot of them either participated in heavenly sessions or things. And that's this person's suspecting reason why a lot of them are staying because they are worried about everything that they did being for naught. Like if they admit that he isn't a prophet, then the things that they did would have had no purpose and that would be really hard to
Yeah.
reconcile with. But
Yeah. So to answer your question, I feel like a lot of his wives know, at least to some extent, what he has done. I don't think they fully understand his mentality, his reasoning for it. And they still believe, or at least I know some of them still believe, that he is a prophet of God and that he's only being told to do these certain things. And then, we know of others that know what he has done and they can't accept it. And so they are finding their way out as soon as possible. And so it's just
And a lot of his children have left as soon as
right.
they find
As
out.
soon as they find out the truth, they leave. So it's, I think that they know some of the stuff he does, and they are in some way or another able to convince themselves that it's okay. But I also feel like they are kept in the dark about certain things,
Yeah,
which
definitely.
which would be those things that would probably be the tipping point for them to leave.
Mm. Are there any creepy stories or sightings of ghosts in the FLDS?
Oh yes. Oh
Oh, I wanna
yes.
hear. Share one.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily very descriptive, but like I mentioned before, that there was a certain mountain that we were not allowed to go to because we were told that there were Gadiant and robber evil spirits dwelling and living on these mountains. And Gadiant and robbers, that term comes from the Book of Mormon as well. And so we had heard multiple times about a person from the community that went and hiked the mountain anyways and disappeared, and we never saw
Mm.
or heard of them again. And we always assumed that those spirits took them and whatever, just killed them or whatever happened. We don't know, but they were just gone, and their body wasn't found. Nothing was ever found. And so, after I left the FLDS church and realized that I didn't believe what I was being taught my childhood and growing up years, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This isn't. So I went back and hiked on that mountain a little bit to
Just to
see.
prove you weren't gonna disappear?
And granted, I went and hiked in the middle of the day. I didn't go in the nighttime. I was still a little bit scared. But anyway, nothing happened. I'm still here. So I'm not sure. But there were tells and stories about that kind of thing happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Did any of the moms in your house have jobs outside the home?
Yes. In fact, my father's first wife was very well known in the community for being a special education teacher. And she did a great job. She actually ran a location out there. And yeah, or actually, I believe they met in college. So she went to college, she had a degree, and she was a very well known teacher out there.
If there was an FLDS restaurant, what would be the main menu item?
Oh boy, bread and milk? No. Yeah. I don't There have been some restaurants in and out of the community over the years. I would say some of the most famous would be a chicken restaurant and a pizza restaurant. But if you're asking what we ate most of in our childhood home, it was more chili, things you can make in a big pot. Rice, chili, chicken. And
Feeding for the masses,
I
really.
joke about bread and milk, but that was a pretty common dinner. If it was, we needed to put a dinner together really quickly. We were trying to feed 36 children, and well, not quite that many in the house at one time, but in the 20s. And so we would literally just break bread and put honey on top and milk, and that would be our meal. So I joke about it, but that was actually fairly
Very
common.
common. Another question. Warren's mother had a vision of various prophets who conveyed that the sickly and premature Warren was anointed for greatness. How common are such visions in Mormonism? Thanks from Kenya. Well, thank you for that question.
Wow.
That's a great
Well,
question.
thank you. Yes.
And I would say people having dreams about their children and future things, very common.
Yeah, so in the FLDS, it was very common that people would have these visions and that they would have these voices or things talk to them. And you have to remember too that when you're raised a certain way, to believe that everything in your life, everything your brain is telling you could potentially be
A
a
revelation.
revelation or God speaking to you in one form or another. I mean, that I was told by my mother that I was as Samuel in the Bible. And so I needed to listen for the voice of the Lord if he ever called my name. And I remember as a young boy, just, laying in my bed and just like waiting for the voice to say Samuel, and be like, oh, I'm here. What's my mission? What do you want me to do? That kind of thing was very common. We were taught to always be listening for the voice of the Lord to speak to us. And if we're worthy enough, he will. So we're always trying to be better, and we're always trying to be worthy enough for that voice. So
And
it's not,
dreams. Yeah, in
it's
LDS
not,
too.
yeah. And it's not uncommon at all. It's very common for people to have these visions or have these voices come to them because of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say even within the LDS, Like, I know people personally who were like, "Oh, I saw a dream with all of my children, and I knew their gender, and I knew the age gaps, and I knew this and that." And, so I feel like you said, it's very common within Mormonism to believe that you are gonna get I'd say that it is more intense or deep than just an answer to prayers. So you do believe that you are gonna have inspiration and
Mm.
that you're gonna have actual revelation, which is a word that I know a lot of other religions don't use as much, or I've found that out recently. It's very common within the LDS and FLDS to say, like, "Oh, I received a revelation of this." And it's something that, yeah, people are told that they can have
Yeah.
personal revelation. I think that's something
Oh,
kind of
very
unique.
common. Yes.
And
Yeah.
so when you believe that you can have personal revelation, then yeah, there is more stock to your dreams and your thoughts and your feelings, and everything is very you pay attention to all of those things
Yeah.
because what if it's God talking to you?
And people talk about stories like that all the time, even outside of the FLDS and LDS faiths. People talk about stories all the time where they feel an urge to stop, and then right before them there's an accident, and so they avoid an accident or things like that. That seems pretty to be
Yeah,
fairly
but within
common.
Mormonism, we would definitely say that that was the
Was the
spirit
spirit or the voice, yep, of
of
God
God.
talking. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are there any mythological superstition or superstitious creatures that the FLDS believe in, such as gnomes or fairies? Okay, I have one for this. So, not gnomes or fairies, but were you ever told that Cain
Oh yes.
that Cain was Bigfoot?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know about that.
Okay, so there was a superstition, and again, this is not doctrinal. I am not saying that the LDS Church teaches this. This is something that's like one of those when you're in a room of other people and they're like, "Have you ever thought about the fact that
Because
um
of the description you got.
because of the description," and then there are people like lots of LDS people that I know that think that Cain is Bigfoot or the Bigfoot is Cain and that he's still wandering and that was his curse and all this stuff. And so I consider Bigfoot mythological, so I will say that. But that's gnomes or fairies. I'd say that's the closest thing I ever heard.
Yeah. I was just taught that Cain is still alive. He was cursed to look more like a beast rather than a human.
Yeah,
And then he was cursed to live on the earth forever and never be able to die
alone in
alone.
the
And
forest with very large feet.
I was taught as well that he was bigger than the average person. So
Now
maybe
you
I,
see
I can see where
why
maybe
people drew the
I can see maybe
connections.
where it came from, but no, not other than that, nothing really else that I was taught
Nah.
about in the FLDS.
Curious how the FLDS feel about the military. Was that ever an option you talked about growing up as something you may want to do, or was it never talked about?
So it wasn't talked about in my childhood, in my generation, but my father served in the military. So he was, think that might be one of his reasoning for wanting such order and strict rules in the house is because of his military training. But he did quite some time in military.
Mm.
And so obviously it was okay back in those days. By the time I came around, I didn't hear anyone going to the military. I didn't know that it was even an option if it was. So
And
uh,
in the LDS, they're definitely military is an option and is talked about
in
frequently.
the
A lot
LDS,
of
yes.
honor for
Oh
the
yes.
military
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
Were there rules regarding what names could be used when naming your children in the FLDS?
Sorry, what was that? I was reading another one.
Oh, were there rules regarding what names could be used when naming your children in the FLDS?
Not necessarily, but I think it was an unspoken rule that everyone would pick a name out of some kind of scripture, generally speaking. That's why there's so many names from scripture. Or if it wasn't from like the Bible, then it could be from the Book of Mormon, or it could be from, for example, my brother is named Joe, and I believe he was named after Joseph Smith, right? So there's different like names from even more modern day people, like the earlier prophets from the Mormon Church that would be used as well.
Or
So
you have a brother that's named after Joseph Smith's brother.
exactly, yep. So there's a lot of names that were used by either early day like church members or from like the Book of Mormon or Bible.
Yeah. The group I was raised in did a lot of laying on of hands and speaking in tongues to cast out demons. Are these things the FLDS also do?
Yes,
Yep.
very very common. In fact, it
How
was
did you speak in tongues?
okay. The speaking in tongues things, not necessarily. No. It was more just the casting out of evil spirits and demons and that kind of thing.
In LDS, the speaking of tongues kind of became interpreted as the ability to speak other languages easily. So I was taught, in the LDS, people serve missions, young men primarily, now a lot more young girls too, but that if you caught onto languages easily, that was the gift of speaking in tongues, and that it was more of like a spiritual gift to be able to catch on to those languages, to be able to teach the gospel in it, more than the way the is it evangelicals or I'm getting it wrong, but the denominations that speak in tongues and
There
they're
are some that do,
speaking and they can't, no one can understand them but them.
I've heard people speaking in tongues before. In fact, while I was on my mission in Chile, there was a family that one of the family members invited us in. Another family member came out and very much disliked us and did not want us there. And so she was speaking in tongues, I guess, and trying to cast us out of her house, which was very interesting to say the least. I had never experienced that before. So the first time I experienced it, it was almost a little scary to me. It was very interesting.
There's definitely laying on of hands for lots of different reasons. Priesthood blessings in the LDS and FLDS, very big thing. So laying on of hands for lots of things, not just casting out demons. I know they do that for possessions as well. But then also, and I'm curious, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but like even as a young kid, I was told that I could like raise my hand to the right and cast out evil spirits using the name of Jesus Christ.
That was something I was told.
Now that I look back, I was young. I'd say I was like 11 or 12. And they were like, you can do this to cast out evil spirits.
Right.
And yeah, so I'd say that was the closest. I know it's not laying on of hands, but still along those lines.
The evil spirits was something that was talked about on a daily basis in the FLDS, that so-and-so went to a hotel and he was staying in a hotel, and in the room he felt a presence. And so he used his priesthood power and cast out the evil spirit. And then his room was fine after that. And the different things where another person in the FLDS was in some way or another tempting Satan, is what they called it. And basically, I don't know and what he was doing, but bragging that he wasn't afraid of him, or trying to claim that he wasn't real. And next thing he knew, he was being thrown around his room by something invisible. So those kinds of stories were talked about in the FLDS that definitely made you scared to ever do anything against the church's policies.
Yeah. And definitely, like we were always taught to, like, you don't ever do anything that would invite evil demons or Satan. All of our homes were always prayed over and like consecrated.
Dedicated.
That's the word. Dedicated. Yep. All the homes were dedicated. And so I was taught that as long as we didn't invite any evil spirits into our home, they weren't allowed to come into our home because it was dedicated.
Right.
Was that the same with you?
Yes. Yep. Oh, yes.
So we would have had to invite. So we were basically taught like our home's a safe haven, and it's not possible for an evil spirit. So you should be safe.
Unless you invite
them in by, and you can invite in different ways, but.
And in our FLDS growing up, we rededicated the house quite frequently.
We did not. We would do it only when you'd build a new house, or like when you move to a new house.
Yeah. So there would be someone did something, for example, that was against the rules. And so, well, now you did it. We got to rededicate the house, right? Like that was something that was fairly common.
Dang.
Yeah.
Jen Bull says, Peter and a YouTuber asked for any suggestions of people who have connections or experience with the. Isn't that who we've been?
Oh, yes.
We have been in connection with someone that's
asking about
yes. Peter and dealing with Peter directly. And so we have let them know. Peter has our information.
He did contact us, so thank you.
Yeah. Did Peter end up contacting us?
Not Peter specifically.
Somebody else working with him.
Yeah.
But again, obviously, if that's something you want to see, the more you share with Peter, like, hey, they said they sent their information or something, if you want to reach out. Sometimes it's hard with YouTubers. Like, just we're also busy and get so many emails that sometimes it can get lost in the shuffle. So if you want to, suggesting that he contact us, he can like look us up. We have sent our information. So hopefully that gets through. We would love to help him out for sure. That would be super fun to work with him.
That's a very interesting question. And to put the answer short, I never saw my sister's legs or arms or anything, so it's hard to know.
You need to say the question out loud real quick.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
And
Go
for the
ahead.
other people who don't know where we're at, so are FLDS women allowed to shave their legs or pluck their eyebrows, or is that considered vanity?
So it was not allowed, to my knowledge, but I never really saw their legs or arms. So and eyebrows. I knew of some that would do it, but it was not supposed to be done. So they're supposed to be all natural, I guess. They weren't even supposed to cut their actual hair from on their head. So when someone would trim their hair, that was also not considered a good thing.
Yeah. In LDS, makeup, eyebrows, we do it all. We take care of everything.
Very different. Very different in the LDS. Yeah.
Tanisha, question. What are your thoughts on LDS teachings on polygamy, temple polygamy? I feel like it's more of a kept secret or people don't talk about it. We definitely don't talk about it as much in the LDS, mostly because you don't want that. There's a lot of misunderstanding of people think, oh, Mormons practice polygamy. And they haven't in so long that I feel like there's that added distance, just like, okay, we don't practice polygamy anymore. That's these other people. And so you try to like distance yourself from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
To talk about like currently. Obviously, within the LDS church, and we've done videos on this before, but the teachings of polygamy are still very real. And it's just that it's not this time period where we're supposed to be practicing polygamy, but polygamy definitely a thing in the afterlife within LDS theology. Definitely something that can happen with temple marriage and sealings. 100% polygamy can be a thing, but it's not brought up anymore because there needs to be that distance to show the difference between the mainstream LDS church and people who practice polygamy, that they're not following our current prophet anymore.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting talking with people within the LDS about that, because some people just don't know anything about it. Some people have accepted the fact that they won't understand it in this life, and that they're told they will understand it in the next life, and they just accept it as that. So it's a tricky topic though, because a lot of people will say, oh, I would never do that, and so who knows what's to come in the next life.
Yeah. Do FLDS wear garments like mainstream church?
Yes, they do. So,
but not in the same way for
different.
The same purpose.
Yes. So it is a one-piece garment, and there are no markings on it. And if to my knowledge, if I'm remembering correctly, we started wearing those at 8 years old. So it wasn't like you had to go through the temple and get your endowment and all of that in order to wear it. You just started wearing it at a certain age.
Yeah, and LDS garments are considered very, very sacred and very symbolic of a lot of things.
Yep.
And it's not the same for the FLDS. It's more of like, it's symbolic as a whole, but not the same way that the LDS garments are to LDS people. So it's definitely very different.
It was a rule that you had to wear it in the FLDS. You had to wear your garment, period. Day, night, always. And then you always had to cover up your garment. And that is one of the reasons why we had to dress so modestly, is because our garments would go down to our wrists and ankles and, about like this shirt around your neck. So you always had to wear very modest clothing to cover it up.
I feel like it's just another one of those things that the split happened so long ago of the different ways that garments would be handled, that, it started with Joseph Smith, and then it branched off so long ago that now they're so separate in their meanings and everything that it's just a lot different. But
now in the another interesting thing, which many of you probably don't know about, is when some of the prophets have been buried for their funeral, they were dressed in what looked like LDS temple clothing. So obviously the idea for those that are worthy enough is still there.
You're talking about when FLDS prophets are buried.
An FLDS prophet, yes. And sorry, did I say LDS?
You didn't say either one, but I just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
When FLDS prophets are buried.
Yes. So to be specific, when Warren's father, Rulon Jeffs, was buried, I saw that he was dressed in what looked like the LDS temple clothing. And
that's interesting.
So obviously there is some correlation connection there with that I was never taught about. And maybe it was only for the prophets of the church, because I had never seen anyone else buried that way. But that's just an interesting tidbit of information that I saw.
Oh goodness, time flies so fast when you're having fun.
Oh no, it's already been almost an hour. We got to get
about 10,
more questions.
minutes.
More questions. Let's go.
Would we be willing to talk about more LDS specific controversies also, not only FLDS? If we feel like we can bring a fresh perspective that maybe hasn't been covered or do it in a very respectful way, then yeah, there's some controversies where it's harder and I'm like, I don't really want, if I don't feel like I can handle it in a respectful, compassionate way, then I don't feel like it's adding value and we don't. But
Yes, and it's tricky. It's
it's
tricky.
tricky. But
There's
we are open to more and more of those if we can, if it's something that can help people understand more. So I
right.
guess that's
Right.
Melissa. How's it going being a stay-at-home mom? I am as well. Having your videos during nap time. My cleaning time is my favorite.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
It is good. It can definitely be lonely. Having mom friends to have play dates with has really been, I call it my therapy every week. I think that's super important. Now Sam's at home working from home, and that's really helpful having him around.
Yeah.
So it can definitely be hard and lonely, but I personally absolutely loved it and love knowing that I had that time with my kids.
Yeah, Melissa's been great at every change along the way. She was an amazing career woman that had an amazing
Oh, thanks,
job
babe.
and then supported me through college and, and was there for that. And then when we had kids, she was like, all right, switching the rule to mother. And now she was the most amazing wife and mother at home. So anyway, just kudos to you. Good job.
Thanks, babe. Sam, those glasses make you look more like David.
Are you referring David?
I think probably your
my dad,
father.
my father. Okay. Well, thank you.
Are your kids dressing up for Halloween? What are they going to be? Yes. This year, they are going Mario themed. Although our daughter, they love dress ups all the time. So she was excited that she got to wear 4 different outfits because she's like, I can wear this outfit to this Halloween party and this one for going to grandma's work and this one for my school parade and this one for that night. So she likes changing them. But Mario theme, Princess Peach and Bowser. There we go. You just need to be Mario or Luigi.
Yeah.
You're too tall for Mario.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Probably Luigi, huh?
What was your favorite meal your mom made, and what's your favorite I make?
Oh,
Ooh.
putting me on the spot. I see how it is, Bailey. Okay, let's see. Favorite meal okay, stir fry. My favorite meal my mother makes is stir fry.
And what's your favorite that I make?
Easy. Meatloaf.
Oh.
But she makes a lot of good food, but she recently made this meatloaf that I couldn't stop eating. I could not stop eating it. It was so good. So now that's my new favorite.
Good. Off topic, do we have any pets? We just barely got a kitten for our little
If
girl.
you haven't heard it meowing, there's kids playing in the backyard, and the cat really wants to get out to the backyard, so he's been meowing a lot.
Yep. What did you learn about the Virgin Mary? I heard Brigham Young and others say that she wasn't a virgin because God was in the form of a man when he did the deed. That is a very old Mormon thing that really only Brigham Young said. And I hate to say it like that, but even within the LDS church, there's definitely things that Brigham Young said that as a whole, the church still kind of like denounces like, okay, he was a one-off on that.
Which is tricky, right? Because he was a prophet.
Yeah, which is tricky, but still, like, there's definitely things he has said or that have been quoted in the past that the church as a whole does not agree with and is like, no, that was just him on his own. And I think the God being in the form of a man and actually like conceiving Christ with Mary is a one-off on Brigham Young. Were you taught anything? I'd heard that Brigham Young said that, but they basically ignored it, and I was told that it was still immaculate conception.
So we were taught to respect the Mother Mary as this amazing person, but we were told that we were to never worship Mother Mary. We were to worship God and Jesus Christ. It seemed like Warren Jeffs. We were never told to worship Warren Jeffs, but it seemed like it got to that point. But we were told to respect Mary as the mother of Jesus, but that was all.
Yeah. Let me try learning. Thank you so much, everyone. Do we have any polygamy book recommendations?
Ooh. Well, there have been a lot of people that have left the FLDS that have gone on to write books about it, but I don't know. I know that most of you that are on here right now have been commenting on our videos telling us about books that we haven't heard about. So I don't know if we have any recommendations for you that you haven't read or not. I'm trying to think. Rachel Jeffs, she wrote a book. There's
Elisa Wall.
Elisa Wall wrote a book. So those are some that we've recently looked at and have been very interesting. So I don't know of any others off the top of my head that I would recommend, though. I know
Yeah.
other people are talking about writing books and or are currently in the process of it.
Sam
So
hopes to get through his at some point.
yes, I would love to get through mine as well. It's hard to know if anyone here knows the person to reach out to help with that kind of thing. Man, it's hard to know how to organize all of my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm sorry that we're so behind on these comments. I'm trying to get through them as quickly as possible. Exorcisms, I think we kind of touched on. We are gonna try to keep it as close to an hour as possible. So we'll just try to do a couple more questions. Again, if you like when we go live, then please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I always forget to say that. We forget to say that.
We're
We
not
just want
very
to hang
good.
out.
We're not good at reminding people to subscribe, but we try. So thank you all for doing that. Jennifer, hey, good to see you again too. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. What is it like to live in Utah without being Mormon yourself? So we don't live in Utah anymore. And I will say that it is easy to separate from the culture a little bit more after having left the LDS church. It's definitely easier in a different state. But there are also a lot of great LDS people here too. And I still say that we're still in the LDS community a lot and have a lot of
Mhm.
good friends that are and
Yeah.
family.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, but I think having gone through that tradition or gone through that transition and staying in Utah would have been a lot harder because the culture just in Utah in general is really
Yeah.
mixed with that.
Yeah. And we don't like to, I don't know, disagree with other people's beliefs and or argue and that type of thing. And
Yeah.
just because Utah is a very very strong opinionated group about the religion aspect, it could be difficult.
Yeah. Hi from Chile.
Oh, Chile, hola hola,
We're the
cómo
other
estáis?
we're otherwise part of the wedding with a new wife. So we're the first wives there when your father got married to the next ones.
Yes, that was common. I was never there. And then as time went on, marriages got more and more secretive. So but for the time that I remember weddings going on, and when there was an actual wedding that people were invited to, the other wives were there. Yes.
Was doing the Mormon Stories podcast video tough on you? He asked some tough questions. My heart broke for Sam during a lot of it.
Mm, it yes,
Yes.
it was hard, but I knew going into it. I had seen some of the other interviews that John had done, and so I kind of knew it was coming, but it was tough to talk about. But I think it was good. I think it was overall really good, and some things that it was nice to talk about and kind of get off my chest. So
Definitely. Some of those hard things, like I said, yeah, it definitely helps to kind of work through it. And at the same time, I think some of the harder things is dealing with like assumptions of how you're feeling based on other people's experiences. It's easy to lump together. How do I even say this? One of my favorite things and not favorite things about Mormon stories at the same time is that every person's story is different, right?
mhm.
Which is great.
Yep.
And at the same time, when you listen to a lot of them, or like in John DeLynne's case, he's listening to so many people's stories that it's easy to mesh things together and create generalizations, which you can't blame him for, because when you've heard that many stories, there are a lot of specific things that you see. But then sometimes that's hard if that doesn't fit your mold, because you're like, actually, that's not how I feel about that specific thing. I feel this way.
Right.
So I think it was good also for us. There were moments when John was like, oh, I haven't heard that perspective, or I didn't know this about the FLDS. And I think it was some good opportunities for
Yeah.
us to kind of share how different our story might have been than a lot of the other stories that were
Yep.
told. Hope that
Yeah.
makes sense. But
Yeah. Yes, it was good though, and I feel like there were some questions that were asked that were I don't know that I even answered necessarily, because there are just certain things that we try to be respectful as possible about, and John is very good at getting all the information out there.
yeah, he's very good at digging and asking the right questions. So, thanks for answering questions. Really enjoy
You're
the videos. Thank you
welcome.
so
Thanks for asking the
much.
questions.
I'm waiting for Amanda Ray to go
Oh,
on Mormon Stories. I don't think Amanda Ray will, because she was never mainstream LDS. So I
but
would be
I mean,
surprised. But I mean, it could happen. He might.
you never know.
You never know. I think that would be super cool for her to be able to give like an 8-hour interview of her
Yeah,
full story.
Get the
where John goes a
whole
lot deeper.
yeah.
But I think a lot of times he sticks with people who have been mainstream LDS. And from my understanding, when we talked to her, like she never went from the Kingstons to the LDS. So it might not happen. But yeah, thank you guys so, so much. Oh my gosh, it's already 1. Well, we will, let me see if there's one more.
One more lucky question. What do we got?
Yes. Does the governor, oh, well, that one's a little bit, that would be a very long one to answer. Thoughts on candy corn. There we go. That's the perfect one to end this Halloween live with. Thoughts on candy corn is I love it. And I know that that's not unpopular opinion. There is some on our countertop right now. And I keep it out like all of October. I get candy corn and it's out there.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. I have a follow-up question for all of you. So I love candy corns as well. This year we got the candy corn mix that came with the traditional white, yellow, orange, and then the pumpkins, and then the white, yellow, and black. Has like the chocolate on the bottom.
I'm a purist.
Do people like the ones with the black on the bottom? Is that something people like? Because I like it. She very much avoids every single one. She won't
only
touch
pick
them.
out the original candy corns.
So yes,
that's where we're at. But you are so right. The John's done Jehovah's Witnesses and Scientology, and you're right. And I totally forgot about that. So
maybe Amanda will be on there. Yeah.
I would love to see that interview, honestly, because even when we talked to her for hours and hours, and we were just scratching the surface. And I know John would probably do like 2 8-hour parts, and I would love to see that too. So original candy corns, original only. Yeah.
It looks like there's a lot of people supporting your opinion here.
Those pumpkins are horrible.
Someone else loves the pumpkins though. See, everybody has different opinions here.
Yeah. Well, he was trying to contact her. I told him to ask you to. Oh yeah, we can definitely give him the information. I'd be happy to share her information, pass it along.
Definitely.
We'll definitely have him reach out to us.
Somebody mentioned Carolyn Jessup's book, and yes, that is a very good book as well. So thanks for reminding us about that one. That was been out for quite a long time at this point.
Yeah.
Original candy corns with peanuts.
Okay, I can see that being good.
Okay, so
okay, go ahead, do yours.
No. So I was just realizing, just recently, we sat down to watch probably one of the many episodes of Sister Wives, is my guess at this point. That's kind of all we watch now. And we had our popcorn, and I just grabbed a couple candy corns off the counter with the popcorn. That was delicious. It tasted like a popcorn ball, if anyone knows what that is. But it was really good. So try popcorn and candy corns. We'll try the peanuts. That's a good idea.
We'll definitely. But thank you all so much for being here. It was so fun getting to chat with all of you. I'm so sorry if we didn't get to one of your questions. Please feel free to leave them in the comments. If there's something we can react to, someone you want to hear from, someone you want us to interview. We love when you guys help us pick our content.
Yes, it makes it a lot easier for us. So thank you all so much. And yes, continue. If we didn't get to your questions, we'll try to go through these questions after the live has ended and possibly answer them in future videos or just by messaging you back. So thank you all so much for being here.
Safe and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
We'll talk to y'all soon.
Talk to you soon.